men love other men. Straight men, gay men. We were in the showers once and he went, go on then, rate my... And I went, what do you mean? He went, is it a good one? Is it a bad one? I think I was so scared before it came out about giving anything away that might out me. Because I was convinced that was the end of my career. I got into a relationship like early on after coming out. I think that definitely helped me kind of normalise gay sex and relationships. And looking back, I would probably advise myself not to get into a relationship pretty much straight after coming out. So I told her on the phone and she said, you're joking. And I was like, Mum, I'm not joking. I'm literally trying to come out here. And then it was, I can't believe you're doing this to me. You're a disappointment. How could you? I'm ashamed of you. Probably since leaving rugby, I've probably found it quite hard to make friends. I think that if I'd have come out earlier, I don't think I would have played rugby professionally.
Right.
Because
well, firstly, thank you so much for joining me. There's one question that you've been asked a couple of times, and I personally don't like this question, so I'm interested to hear if you also don't like this question.
Go on.
It's, when did you know you were gay? The thing that bothers me about that is that I always just want to say, like, when did you know you were straight?
Yeah, I mean, one of my best mates who I originally came out to at rugby, he actually wrote a list.
Oh, really?
On his phone. And one of the top ones was, do you go on dates? Like, do you gay people go on dates? I was like, yeah, we're not like aliens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that was the kind of, but at least he put some thought into it. Do you know what I mean?
So what sort of questions would you get from the team after you came out?
I mean, you get stuff like, are you just like I get from gay men, are you a top or a bottom?
Yeah.
Some of that, I mean, some people would want to know, most of them wouldn't, but most of it was just dicking around and seeing what they could get, like, just because it was I guess it was a novelty.
Yeah.
But some of it was about, like dating, relationships, and I was like, I don't fucking know, I ain't been in one.
Yeah. Because also a lot of the questions might have been based on you having a lot of experience of being out, and actually at this point you might not have had that experience to talk about it.
Yeah, that was it. And I don't think they could, even though I'd been married and had kids and it's, I'd not been like active in the gay world.
Yeah.
I think they just assumed that I'd come out. I think like a lot of people do, that you're a fully fledged gay who's got all your badges and you know what you're on with. And I was like, I had no, and I suppose because I was doing interviews as well, that was something that I found really difficult, like internally at the time, was I was being asked all these questions and touted as this role model and this, that and the other, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like a complete fraud here. Like, all I've done is come out because I was at rock bottom. It was either that or kill myself, and you're all now saying I'm a hero. I feel like an absolute loser. Yeah. So it was a bit of a weird time, and that was weird with them as well, because obviously they were seeing me on TV and interviews and stuff, so they obviously thought, and I was captain as well, so they generally thought I had all my shit together, and at that point in my life I was anything but. Yeah.
Did you get the question from any of your mates, oh, did you fancy me? This show is almost on its 50th interview, and this YouTube channel is almost at 50,000 subscribers. I would absolutely love it if we could get to 50,000 subscribers by our 50th interview. So if you're enjoying these interviews and you'd like to see more of them, then please can you subscribe to this YouTube channel? It helps more than you know. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. And now back to the show. Did you get the question from any of your mates, oh, did you fancy me?
No, I didn't get did you fancy me, but when I was at Wakefield, so I've been out a few years, a lad who I'm really good mates with him, even still after rugby, which I'm not with most people, but we were in the showers once and he went, go on then, rate my cock. And I went, what do you mean? He went, is it a good one? Is it a bad one? And I went, well, get it hard then. And he went, what do you mean? I said, no one has ever done anything of note with a flaccid penis, so I need to see it hard. And he went, oh, I'm not doing that.
That's kind of like a backhanded compliment. Well, it needs to get hard for me to judge this.
Yeah. But like all the lads are laughing about that. But no one asked me if I fancy. Certainly no one in rugby. I get it occasionally from like newspaper guys, like, oh, how's the dynamic in the changing room? I was like, have you ever been in a changing room? It's one of the gayest places. Like, people are just walking around naked, smacking each other's asses. Like, it's. I mean, I didn't get involved. I didn't get involved in that one because I didn't want anyone saying, "Oh, I'm taking liberties." But do you know what I mean? Like, it's nothing. I don't know if people think that I was stood there in the corner going, "Oh yeah, go on, lads," because that's you literally just get showered and get out.
But I bet there's a difference between being in the closet in the changing room than being out in the changing room, because you're almost projecting what you think they're thinking now that you're out. In that, I don't want to look, I don't want to be involved in the banter because they know I'm gay now, so therefore if I get involved in it, they'll probably take the wrong impression. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose the only kind of, if there was anything banterous, I hate that word, but like to do with, you know, people ribbing each other or on about something, if it was to do with dicks, sounds like a really weird thing to say, I'd probably wait till I got asked my opinion, like, rather than just give it anyway. Cause
do I have a nice dick?
Well, no, just if someone was saying, like, because you get people going, oh, I think I've got herpes. Does that look like herpes to you? Like, that's happened in the changing rooms before. So I wouldn't then go, oh, let's have a look. Unless someone, Keegan, what do you think? No, well, they just ask each other. Like,
oh, right.
Yeah, it's just not me. Not like I'm a doctor. No, people would just go, oh, shug this girl and did this. I think I've got herpes. What do you think? Or I think, does this look right to you? And like, there was all that kind of stuff going on.
So it's interesting that you talk about this because when I sat with Mark McAdam, obviously he's really in the football world. So I quizzed him, and this is actually more of a question for you because you're ex-rugby and he's football. And I said to him, when I was at university, I was on some shitty rugby whatever for a period, and I found that the homoeroticism of the rugby lot was way beyond what I would ever have expected from a straight group of men. They used to do this thing where they would like grab each other's dicks and walk up as an initiation, walk up the hill, the elephant walk they called it. So I asked Mark this, and I said, is this the same in football, or is it really homoerotic in the changing rooms and lots of, you know, initiations and stuff where they have to get naked in front of each other? And he said, no, that's not my experience at all. Obviously he's not a player, so he wouldn't have seen it to the extent, but what you're saying is that is very much the case.
Yeah, if you watch rugby, it's like gay.
I haven't watched that much rugby.
It's men jumping on top of each other. Like,
yeah, but on the pitch it's gay, but what I'm saying is like behind the scenes it's still very much
but you practice to, do you know what I mean? Like, I think with football, I don't know, because I've never been in a football changing room, but I can imagine, I would have thought there is a level of homoeroticism. There is with men in general. Men love other men. Straight men, gay men. Obviously, gay men love other men romantically and sexually. Yeah. But straight men love being with straight men. They love their approval. They love contact with them. They love... Like, you only have to look at all the stereotypes of, oh, I've got to spend time with the missus, I'd rather be out with the lads. Because they would, right? And that's okay. There's this thing about, and there's this thing that these rigid, like, things around masculinity, oh, you can't do this, you got to be gay, all that kind of shit. But men love being with other men. They're, like, and I'm not saying they all want to smack each other's ass and grab each other's dick and walk them up the street, because they don't, but I think behind closed doors in a changing room, or, you know, even on nights out, I think as well with rugby, there is less of the fragile masculinity. Don't get me wrong, there is some fragile masculinity in rugby. I'm not saying that it's, you know, superior, but I think there's less of it because there is so much physical contact. You can't be fussy about, sometimes you do get someone's fucking ass in your face or whatever. Like, it's just part of the course. You just got to get on with it. It's part of the gig. So I think you become like less bothered about it, and then there's the it falls into the sense of, well, how far can we push something and wind somebody up? You know, like with an initiation thing. Like, they used to do something called 3-man lift, where they'd basically end up holding someone down and someone would get their ass and rub it in the face, like, and everyone would laugh and joke about it. Oh, do you remember when you got so-and-so 3-man lift? Or so I think there's an element of how far can you push it, and also because that's what people are doing, you would be called out as weird or not getting involved or whatever if you didn't do that. So it's it is a really weird phenomena when you actually look at it, because it's but
it's not too dissimilar to what it's hard to compare sort of puppies with adult men, but to see other animals scrapping and fucking around with each other, do you know what I mean? It's quite a primal thing to want to do. It's just
absolutely
be goofy and take the piss.
100%. But I remember, even like, if you think about when I first started going to the gym when I was like 15, I'd see men walking around the gym, like, especially old fellas, like cock and balls everywhere, flossing, like while they're talking to each other, and you don't see it as much anymore. I don't know if people are like covering it, or they do get in the showers with their boxers on or whatever. I just think it's a bit weird, like, but it was. I remember when we were amateurs as kids, it got to an age, maybe with 14s or 15s, and then suddenly there was like an unwritten thing that you didn't wear your pants anymore into the shower. That was childish to do that. And then obviously just as you just get in showers. I think if one of you walked into showers, people would be like, what's going on there? Why are you being weird?
What I find interesting, right, about you being in the closet when you were doing rugby and being in these environments is that if that were me, and I've had this with my straight friends, but it was way less naked around each other and what you're describing, ass in face and stuff, I would find that really hard. I would like want to hook up with these men. I would find it very arousing. I would fall in love with my friends if they were being all over me and stuff. Like, did you not get any of that conflicting feeling of being very stimulated almost by all this?
Nah, because I think I was so... honestly, I didn't, and I didn't even... Like, obviously, you might think, oh, they're fit or they're attractive or whatever, but I mean, most of them look like a potato, so that wasn't the case.
What, face or everything?
Yeah,
the rugby face.
Yeah, but generally, I think I was so scared before it came out about giving anything away that might out me, because I was convinced that was the end of my career if I came out. So if whether voluntarily or someone, cottoned on and called me out on it. So I think I was also almost like, not to make light of schizophrenia, but it was like I had two modes. I had like rugby mode, loads, fuck it, yeah, and then Keegan away from that mode. Because it's the same, like, people say to me, well, how did you have sex with a woman if you're gay? And I was like, I don't know, just had to, it was like having sex is survival, but it literally felt like that kind of level of jeopardy, I think. It was like survival. So...
And you didn't, when you thought of things that turned you on, when you were in Keegan mode, not rugby mode, would flash back to the rugby scenarios?
No, not rugby. Maybe it's just not my. Maybe rugby's not my thing.
Maybe not.
But it's like, because people would say that, and I understand why they would say it, but there is, or certainly I felt. I know this is not. Like, I'm like a big team player, and I'd always, any nights out, anything like that, I'd be like, whatever needs to happen for the team to win. Like, the team's success is my success. That's not everybody, and I'm like, that has its drawbacks as well as good things about it. But I kind of just saw everybody as like, it was like a bit like a brotherhood, and that meant so much more to me than any kind of sexy time or whatever. So I think maybe because I don't really remember, even as I'm talking about it now, it wasn't an active thing where I was like, don't look at this or don't. I think I just didn't think about it because then it's like, I wouldn't stop thinking about it, right? But I just didn't want to do anything that would jeopardize, nothing to do with my career, but my relationship that I had with the lads, which is probably why I was so scared to come out to them when I did, because I didn't want them to think less of me. I didn't want them to change how they behave towards me. Like I loved my time as a rugby player, and I loved the camaraderie and friendships, and it gave me a lot of stuff in my life that I don't think I would have had without it. Those friendships and that closeness, and so I just think I was so desperate not to do anything to jeopardize that. Like it was just never a thing.
I wonder if it made your game better because you had all of this energy that you wanted to like put out. So actually when you were, I don't know the terminology, rucking, tackling or whatever, running with the ball, that's that sort of, you've got so much pent up energy in here that when you're on the field, the pitch.
Field. Yeah. You can say either.
Yeah. You're like, I don't know, just in this sort of possessed mode of like, oh, do you know what I mean? Because you need that in rugby, don't you? That energy.
Yeah. But weirdly, counter to what you're thinking, I actually played better after I came out.
Right. Okay.
Like I played 100% better. It always made me think, fuck, I should have come out early because I would have played at a higher level for longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if it was just. I think I was just kind of operating out of like a tiny part of my brain that was, this is straight, safe Keegan, and then everything else was like the tip of the iceberg kind of thing. And then when I came out, it was just like, I can just be me, and I don't have to pretend, I don't have to worry about anything, I don't have to worry if anyone thinks anything. I was just, and so there was like a big relief. So yeah, I actually played loads better after I came out, weirdly.
Right. When you watch footage of yourself, say today, if you were to watch footage of yourself playing rugby back when you were not out, what do you think of that man that you see there? Do you think that's a different person, or can you still connect to that version of yourself?
That's a good question. I don't know really. I do. It is a different person. It is a different version of me. But I think I feel a lot of gratitude towards that version of me, that because I came very close to not being here, and that version of me held on. And I think back to how grim it was sometimes, and like I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful that he managed to just fucking get through life, and was still a dad to the kids, not a particularly good one, but still a dad to the kids, still, turned up at rugby, because it would have been easy for me to go off the rail. I mean, I did my very best to go off the rails, but I was lucky I had lots of people around me. But so, like, when I think back to my life before I came out, it honestly feels like eons ago, and a different version of, a different person. But obviously it's not. And when I see pictures of me as a little kid, and it's so obvious, like you look back now and
flaming,
just clutching pearls and just campus tits, and I feel sorry for that little boy. And it kind of makes me think as well, when I look back to that version, getting into rugby, being scared to come out, how much did I change my behaviour for fear of not being outed, and how much of that is me, how much of that is not me, or has just become me because I've done it for so long. Like, I think about that stuff. That's what I do. That's what I like overthink about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just I think very grateful. Originally I was kind of angry. like, why didn't you do this sooner? There's all that kind of stuff that I thought about, but I don't know if I'd have been mentally or emotionally able to go through everything that I kind of went through if I'd have done it at a different point in my life. So.
And did you have no outlet, like sexually or anything with men? You know, I was with one of my good friends when I was 18 in the closet up until 24, and we would have sleepovers and hook up with each other and then never talk about it the day after. It was such a strange time.
Yeah.
Did you not get any
I did
of
that. I did that at school.
Right.
Late like high school, towards the end of high school. But like I said, we didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
It was. So I was just like, maybe everybody's doing this, and we're not talking about it.
Yeah.
And then, like, obviously, I would watch porn. And stuff. Like, I guess porn was my big outlet. I felt a lot of shame and stuff around that. And then, you know, it kind of, once I separated from my ex-wife, and then I was like, fucking, just, yeah, going out all the time, hooking up, doing stuff. And, but no, I think that's why it felt like such a relief, because I was like, it was also terrifying as well, but there was no outlet. I didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't do anything other than beat myself up for beating myself up over porn. So yeah, it was.
It's strange, isn't it? Because I started having my first out sexual experiences with men when I was in my mid-20s, because before I was doing it terrified but you know, not talking about it in the dark or whatever. Sounds weird. On Hampstead. But so it's almost that you have to then go back to being what straight people have. I've never had sex with a woman, so I wasn't sleeping with anyone, but you have to like learn how to have sex in your mid-20s, which is so weird. Yeah. That actually I had to shed a lot of it would have been kind of like, sex between men is gross, or like, this is, do you know, it's that weird thing. Like, I don't know if you struggled with it when you first started hooking up with guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's a lot of learning, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you know, still dealing with like internalized homophobia that probably took me years to get rid of, if I've got rid of it all at all. But yeah, it used to be like, after you'd finished, go, I need to get out of here. This is fucking gross.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's not a very emotional thing to start with. It's more of a transaction.
Yeah, it was transactional. And then it was, you know, start challenging myself on that. Like, you know, just, you're all right. Like, you've not done anything wrong.
Yeah. Did you find it hard to emotionally allow somebody in when you first came out?
No, because I got into a relationship like early on after coming out, for good or for ill. But I think that definitely helped me kind of normalize gay sex and relationships and things like that. So I don't know, looking back, I would probably advise myself not to get into a relationship pretty much straight after coming out. But I do think that helped me a lot with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I learned a lot from dating someone, and I personally came out when I had a boyfriend because there was safety in doing it with somebody else.
Yeah.
So I think that, although you said that maybe it's not something you would do again, I think in the sense of feeling safe with someone and exploring sex with someone, that might have been a good thing for you at that time.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. It certainly stopped. I guess it got me out of the transactional sex stuff, you know, and the hookup stuff, which obviously has its place. But I guess when you come into terms with your sexuality and trying to kind of be okay with who you are, that I think dehumanizing a part of yourself by doing that isn't probably good for you long term.
So when you first came out, what was your way of meeting men? What would you turn to?
Grindr.
Was it Grindr?
Yeah.
Were you a headless torso?
Grindr, yeah, headless torso. I think once I came out, I just there was a face on it.
All right.
So I was like, I'm gay now.
Yeah.
So I can go on it. And I used to go to, there was a nightclub in Leeds called Mission 2. It's shut now. But when I used to go in there, which you know, at first I going on my own, which was horrifying when I think back. I must have stuck out like a sore thumb. I mean, like, I'm big anyway, but I just stood there like, I don't know what to do. And I remember going, and the bouncer like stopped me and going, you do know this is a gay bar? And I was like, yeah, please don't talk to me. I just want to go in.
Was this before you were?
No, this was after I came out.
After you
Like,
came
it
out,
would just go, do you know this is a gay bar? And I was like, yes, I'm trying to go in and move.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bit of a weird time, really. Like, it all seemed to have happened so fast. But yeah, we Grindr or meeting people in person or.
Did you find it fulfilling?
No, like, not. It was, but I also didn't care. I don't think it was like freeing, I guess, but not fulfilling. Like, I wasn't getting anything meaningful out of it. Or maybe I was in that I was finally doing what I wanted to do and with people that I wanted to do it with. Maybe not in retrospect, but at the time. So yeah, I think I remember speaking. Like, I've had lots of therapy since, and I remember talking about like that period. And the therapist was like, when gay men come out later in life, it's like someone's fizzed up a bottle of Coke and then let the lid off. And he just goes, pff, and you just got to let it happen. Like, so I think that was my Coke fizz time.
Yeah. What would have been more challenging though about that period for you compared to somebody else is that you were then thrust into the limelight as a sort of gay sports star.
Yeah.
So then people knew you. So therefore, it's not just, oh, I'm attracted to this guy I stood alone in the bar. It's, I'm going to go and talk to Keegan Hirst.
Yeah.
And see if I've got a chance with him.
Yeah.
So then for you, did you know that was some people's thought patterns and that kind of made you feel a bit uncomfortable?
Yeah. So there was a few months between me coming out kind of privately and then publicly. And then once I'd come out publicly, I remember my mate saying to me, you are literally someone's like fantasy, as in like a porn search, rugby player. And I remember saying to him, I don't give a fuck. Like, if I'm getting laid and like everybody's a winner. But it did become, which is great hypothetically, but then it did become very apparent. This is going to sound like, I appreciate this coming from a very privileged position as I say this, but like, it just became very apparent that people just wanted to fuck me just to say, fuck a rugby player, fuck Keegan Hirst, whatever it was. Then I don't think that's the case now. I mean, I've been in a relationship for 3 years, so I don't, that's not really a thing now. But I think then, and it at first it was like, yay me, I can shag who I want and do what I want. But then it became quite. I remember saying I'm not a piece of meat. There's more to me than that, and it became very. I felt it more transactional then. After it was like that felt very transactional.
Right.
So yeah, that made me quite wary of. Well, it did after a while. I think at first I was just like, I'm not bothered. Attention, give me attention. And then after it, the thing is that I had like 2 young kids then when I came out. They were 3 and 7. So at all points I was, I'm a man with 2 young children, and I can't just go off and be a party boy or do whatever I want. There was always, which I think I resented at the time, was like, felt a bit unfair. Why am I not getting to go and explore everything I want to do without any kind of rules or strings attached? But the flip side of that is I was afforded a lot of privileges and got to do a lot of things and meet a lot of people and stuff because of that. So It's like you got to take the rough with the smooth. But yeah, that I was aware of that, and it wasn't a problem at first. But then I was like, yeah, this feels a bit cheap.
You must have got yourself in some situations where guys fell for you quite easily.
I don't know. It's probably the other way around in the early days.
Really?
Yeah, I think I felt like I was. Anyone who showed me any attention, I was like Google-eyed and.
Wow.
Yeah, I was probably like a bit of a romantic at heart, so I was just like, oh, we're going to slot into a relationship and everything's going to be like. I think as well because I was kind of very stuck in that heteronormative. This is how life is. you end up in a relationship and and that. I think I was still very much, I'm just going to swap out my ex-wife for a man and basically life will go on as it is, which was obviously very naive of me. But so I think I was just, I think anybody who showed me attention, I was like, I think I've fallen in love, and I don't know if it was the other way around.
But not rugby players.
Not rugby players.
They don't do
no.
it for you.
No.
What sports is hot for you?
I mean, everybody fancies the gymnasts, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, the swimming at the Olympics last year was something else, but yeah, the gymnasts, absolutely, it's the outfit, isn't it?
The gymnasts, the wrestling as well, like the Olympic wrestling. I think my thing with I don't like someone who looks like me, like ruggedy, ugly. Like I would like clean cut, pretty boys basically.
Yeah.
So you don't get a lot of them in rugby, really.
No, I guess it's been beaten out of them.
Yeah, literally. It? So so maybe that was played into it a bit. Maybe that's why I don't like more rugged men, because I've spent my fucking life with them.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's interesting because, as you say, that you are the archetypal gay man that most people would dream of having sex with. That is what we're kind of suggesting.
Literally want to crawl up my own ass now you said that.
But it's interesting that isn't the case with everybody. Some people, and I had this conversation with someone on the couch, and he loves feminine boys. It's the more feminine, the more attractive to him.
Yeah.
And it is interesting. You can be 100% gay, but still fancy super feminine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would not be attracted to someone who looked like me.
Yeah.
At all, in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and I think that's a trap that people fall into a lot, isn't it? They think that you fancy what you look like. I think that's why a lot of people fall into this thing of I need to be ripped and all that body confidence and issues around that get involved with how we perceive ourselves and how we think others perceive us and things like that.
Well, boyfriend twins is
a thing, isn't it?
Do you know any boyfriend twins?
No, I don't know any boyfriend twins, but I am very conscious. Like, if me and Joel go get ready to go anywhere and we come out in the same colour t-shirt, I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah. And
he's like, why? It's just the same colour t-shirt. I'm like, I don't want to be boyfriend twins.
Yeah. Do you share clothes?
No.
Separate wardrobes.
Yeah. Joel's clothes don't fit me.
Really?
Yeah, mine are
How tall is he?
Drowning. He's 5'11".
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So you're 6'4", so yeah, they probably, especially the jeans, aren't going to fit each other.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
One thing I want to go back to is what you kind of touched on earlier. So let's in the closet, Keegan, when you were observing gay culture from afar and how gay world was, what was your idea of it when you weren't in it? What did it look like to you?
So like flamboyant, effeminate, camp men, and I don't say that in a derogatory way. I mean, that was just what I think growing up, like a big part of the reason why I didn't feel comfortable or like I could be gay was because I played rugby, because, I know what I look like, I know what I sound like. Like for me, pinnacle, which again is naive and wrong, but for me, I was like, Louis Spence is gay. And I remember when Louis Spence used to come on TV, I used to like freeze or turn it off because I was so terrified of someone seeing in me Louis Spence, I guess, and that he was so comfortable in his own skin, whereas I was ashamed and repressed and in denial. Whereas now when I look at someone like Louis Spence, I'm like, fucking good work. Like, you do you, and like, don't give a shit about other people. And that, having that level of comfortability in your own skin is something that, I certainly try to have and aspire to have. And so that was always like a bit of a, that's been I've never met Lewis Spence, but that's always been like a bit of a litmus test. Like I was nothing to do with him. I guess it reflected at me what I was ashamed of in myself. It was nothing to do with him or anybody like that.
And also watching them on TV when you were surrounded by your family, I bet was,
Yeah.
as I've experienced when I watched Graham Norton or something with my dad and my mum sat there and I wasn't out, that was so anxiety inducing because I thought they were just
they're just going to go.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they'd say something flippant about him being gay. It'd be like, oh, this fairy on TV, change the channel. And I'd be like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly that. And like, I'm sure people did say stuff about Lewis Spence, and maybe that played a part of it. It was like, oh my God, you think that about like me? Whereas now I think he's fabulous. And like,
yeah, and I actually have a similar thing to you in that I feel almost envious of people that can allow themselves to let loose in that way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I certainly, if I'm going to be really camp in front of a boyfriend, I kind of afterwards go, oh, I need to reset. Like that was embarrassing. Do you know, I can't just completely let myself go in that sort of feminine way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have that now. I think I'd certainly used to have that, but like now, like I love camping it up. I know people probably maybe don't think that I do, but you know, get a couple of gins in me and watch me do mine hair from cabaret with a chair and a full dance routine, and you know, or like I love, and I can say this honestly, like I love that. I was going to say it flippantly, but I love that part of me now. Whereas it was a part of me that I repressed for so long, you know, that, like I said earlier, the little boy, when I look back at videos of me, was like, you know, really precocious and you there, and like, you know, it was, I feel like I've re-embraced that part of me, and sometimes I see people kind of go, especially if they do it in public, but I don't give a fuck about that. I spent far too long worrying about that.
Well, you minced into the studio today.
Literally, yeah. Like, I'd do my best to mince as much as I can.
So that was your preconceived ideas of it. So when you did come out and you did, I know that you said that you went to a gay bar alone, but when you, well, I suppose that is you going into those spaces. But when you actually went into them, you were invited to Pride. I'm sure you were invited to Attitude Awards. I'm sure you suddenly were given the key to so many gay events.
Yeah.
What actually was the reality? And this doesn't have to be a positive answer. You can say, what did you see when you were actually living it?
Well, I think my first real positive experience of a gay event was Manchester Pride. So Anthony Cotton invited me to go with him and like his group who they were going with, and I ended up going on the parade, and I remember thinking, oh my God, all these people like not only say it's okay to be gay, they're literally celebrating it. It was like it was really emotional. That's why I think I love Manchester Pride, because it was the first one that I went to. And I remember going to New York, and they had it was literally like someone had taken my Spotify and put it on shuffle, and I was like, oh my God, like I've felt so alone for so long, for such a big part of my life, and I like didn't need to feel like that anymore. And I mean, everyone was lovely to me, but I also appreciate everyone was lovely to me because I'd literally just come out like a week or two before it had been in the paper, so it was very much like, you know, the moment, for want of a better phrase. But then, yeah, and I got invited to things like Attitude Awards and meeting people, but I don't suppose it really settled in. I think I was very blind to my privilege for a lot of, certainly the earlier years, and I just kind of thought that everybody had the same experience being gay, and you know, was afforded not the same stuff that I was getting in the sense of invites and things, but I was just like la 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 bliss. You know, I don't think I started to pick up on like the infighting and, you know, the parts of the community that, you know, can be problematic, you know, drug use and all stuff like that. I was like blithely unaware of it for I think a long time.
Did you dip your toe in any of that?
I mean, before I came out, I was doing loads of drugs and stuff. Then when I came out, I didn't get involved in like the chemsex stuff. I didn't really go out in London, to be fair, until years later. So I kind of had my, which I'm glad, because I think if I had gone out to, you know, some of the places in London when I'd have been, you know, Dolly Daydream, I think I might have ended up, you know, maybe making some bad decisions. But I didn't end up doing that. I didn't end up going out in London until I was like a bit older, a bit wiser, a bit more seasoned. And I had Anthony and Peter, who were like, you know, kind of took me under the wing, I guess, gave me what I call my education.
Yeah.
Like I'm really grateful that I had that. That it was like, that's not good for you. That, you know, watch out for this, watch out for that.
Yeah. Because it can be a slippery slope if you start going out to some of the big gay nights and then you get into MDMA or you try something and you realise that the high that comes with it is really fun, especially if you've been bottling up all of this energy for so long, that can become a problem, or it can become a huge part of your life. It's partying.
I 100%. I think if I had not had kids or I'd have lived in London, probably either of those, I probably like at the time, how I was and how I felt, I probably would have ended up doing all that. I've been out to big gay nights out and stuff now, but I could do it with a much more rounded view of everything.
Something you said earlier was that you are slightly unsure about the person you are today, how that's been molded by being in the closet and being in such a straight environment for so long. And this is something I actually I wasn't in the straight environment anywhere near as much as you, but I do ask myself, because I've got brothers, because I was in the closet until I was 24, and people sometimes think I'm straight acting, whereas in my head I think I'm such a fruit. But people would meet me and they go, I didn't know you were gay or whatever. Is that I wonder what I would be like if I had come out at 16 and allowed myself to lean into the femininity that I showed when I was a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
So do you think that you would be a different character if you had come out at 14 and allowed yourself to kind of really explore your feminine side?
I think that if I'd have come out earlier, I don't think I would have played rugby professionally.
Right.
Because I don't think, and this could be wrong, like we can't go in it, but I don't think it would have been a particularly welcoming environment. And I don't necessarily mean from the lads, although probably at 16, you know, getting into scholarships and academies and things like that. I also don't think the coaching staffs would have been particularly supportive or wanted you there. I think it would have been very much, backs to the walls, lads. So I don't think I would have played rugby. I think I would have gone to like I did well at school and stuff. I probably would have gone to university, geared it up at university, and ended up getting a job in a suit somewhere. So I think I would have been a very different version. How would there, you know, how different or more effeminate or less I would have been? I suppose it depends what I got, you know, what role I got into. But you know, rugby taught me a lot as well, and like mental toughness and you know, the stuff that comes with it, camaraderie, teamwork, support, all that kind of stuff. So like I'm glad that I played rugby. But yeah, I don't think I would have played rugby if I came out when I was younger.
In terms of internalized homophobia,
let's talk about that.
Yeah. I still have internalized homophobia, very, very slightly. And I find that interesting because it's obviously been implanted in us as opposed to something I naturally feel. I don't look at two guys kissing on the tube and want to go with it. Do you know what I mean? It just sometimes happens. If you were to say that you have some sort of residue left from any internalized homophobia, what would it be?
I don't know right now, to be honest with you. I can't give you a concrete answer. I know in the past, I remember once we were playing for Wakefield, we were flying to play in the south of France. And I was reading a book called Good As You by Paul Flynn. It's about like the last 50 years of gay culture in Britain. And the cover was two boys kissing. And I was stood, and obviously all the lads know I'm gay, like it's, I'm stood in the airport and I was reading it, and I just remember getting really and going, oh my God, there's two men kissing on, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I tucked it under my arm, and I was like, and then I was like, what a piece of shit you are. You're supposed to be some kind of role model, and here you are hiding a book of two men kissing. Like, when that happened, I kind of went on like a big crusade to really work on my internalized homophobia, because I would have been in the past someone who would have said, you know, if a gay person was to act in any way outside of like heteronormativity, I would have said, you know, they're setting the cause back. I would have been one of those kind of people. Whereas I'm certainly not that now. I had a conversation with my daughter about this the other day. She was talking about a female football pundit had set the course of women's football back, and I was like, whoa. That's like some internalized misogyny that we need to work through here. But I think I was switched onto it because I was very aware of how I used to think. So I think it would have been to do with you can be gay, you can have a relationship with a man and have sex with a man and do all that, but you have to do it in a straight way. I think that would have been the way that, well, I don't think it would, like, that was how my internalized homophobia appeared, that you had to behave and act within a very strict set of rules, and if you did that, you were a bad gay.
Yeah. How are you with PDA now?
Yeah, fine.
So you're fine to like kiss and hold
Yeah,
hands?
100%. I think as well, I'm in a very privileged position in that I'm 6'4" and 110 kilos. Like, there's not many people, and like I'm quite fiery. So if someone was to say something or give me a look, like, I don't have a problem going, you know, what's your fucking problem? But yes, like, I certainly wasn't comfortable with PDA and stuff.
But that was a really hard thing, actually. The first time that you went on a date and then they wanted to kiss you at the end on the street, I bet you were just... I had the same.
The first time we'd been to the cinema, the first time we kissed in public, we'd been to the cinema, might have been for some food, I don't really remember. But what I do remember is we were leaving to go get in our cars, and he just grabbed me and kissed me in the car park. And I remember horror. Oh my God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But then, like, no, you can do this, and this is very freeing and very... And I remember after, like, I don't remember it being a particularly good or bad kiss or anything, but I do remember that was, wow, I've just kissed a man in public and nothing happened. Yeah. So that was it was scary and it was liberating, yeah.
If you were to say... You know that different people can bring out different sides of us. So I have a friend, Hayley. When I'm with my friend Hayley, I suddenly become very camp and fabby, and she brings that out of me. I don't know why. It is that. And then if I was to be with maybe, I can't really think, but maybe in the past, if I was hanging out with straight guys, I would go more into sort of blokey mode. Who brings out the most femme side of you, and who brings out the most mask side of you? Or do you think you're very the same with everyone that you encounter?
I think I'm a lot more the same now than I used to be. I think there used to be like big pendulum shifts, whereas now it'd be very minimal. I mean, like, I went to a testimonial dinner for a rugby player on Monday this week, and I was sat at the table, and I think I was talking about musicals with somebody and like doing like examples of stuff and camping it up, which I would never have, like, when I first came out, I would never have dreamed of doing that around the rugby lads. Like, I would have been horrified to be anything other than but so I think it's a lot less. I think, like, when I'm with, you know, my best friends, and I include my straight best friends in that as well, you know, I probably feel a lot more freedom to camp it up. And sometimes I also realise that me camping it up is funny and, like, goes against what people might perceive. So I think I play up to that a little bit as well. But yeah, I don't think it's as big a shift as it used to be.
That's good.
Yeah, which is something I would say, like, I'm actually really proud of. because it wasn't that's completely opposite to what it used to be.
Yeah, and you can camp it up with Joel.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, well that's important because sometimes you can find yourself, I don't know if you've ever had this in a relationship where you feel like you have to kind of play a certain type, especially in the early parts of dating. Becomes a point when you can suddenly be weird with that person and be super femme and not worried if they're going to lose attraction towards me. I don't know if you've ever had that.
Yeah, I think with the camp side of it, because of my friendship with Anthony and Peter, like I love them so much, and that's their ability to do that has been a real comfort to me, and I love that about them. So I think if anybody was to not like me because I camped it up, I would be immediately like, you're a no-go for me. Like it would be on my terms, not on. And I think probably not early on after coming out, but certainly, a few years in, after lots of work and therapy and things like that, I really have and operate from the mindset that if you don't like me for who I am and these parts of me, then I don't give a fuck and you're not my people.
Yeah,
I've been quite it's why I don't speak to my mum because of like she doesn't like what I'm about and that I came out and all that sort of stuff. But I don't care. Like I've spent too much of my time and the impact that it had on the quality of my life. I refuse to like kind of take a step back towards that.
So I've heard this in interviews that you don't have a relationship with your mum.
No, she didn't like it when I came out, and then we had like a rocky relationship. We'd had a rocky little relationship before I came out, to be honest. So, and then she didn't like that I came out, and we didn't speak for 5 years. Then we spoke briefly, and then we ended up falling out again. And I was just like, not necessarily anything to do with being gay. I was just like, it's just a person who we just don't get on. And I was like, just because we're related. And I say that, I love my mum. I still love my mum. But she's not the kind of person that I want in my life, and I assume I'm not the kind of person she wants in hers. So just where we are.
And before you came out, was she very there for you and proud of you and supportive?
She was when I was younger. Like, I don't know my dad. I've never known my dad. So my mum kind of did both jobs. And she had my younger brother and sister as well. And she was on her own for most of it. Like, she had a tough gig. And she did a good job. But me and my mum are quite fiery individuals. So we butt heads a lot, especially as I became a teenager. And but, she took me to rugby and all that kind of stuff, certainly early doors. I think she was proud that I'd played rugby, but there's a part of me that thinks she was just proud of it because it reflected well on her. And so, it was just kind of it, really.
It's crazy that, you're a father, so could you even imagine if one of your children came out to you just not wanting to talk to them?
No, I can't. That's why I find it so, I guess, unforgivable from that side, because there's not much that my kids could do that would make me not want to have them in my life. So for someone to be able to do that, I'm just like, I just can't get my head around that. So that's like a big part of why I'm just like, I don't know how you're wired up, but it's not the same as me.
And when you were worried to come out, was your mother even in your worry space, or was it all about the rugby lads, or was her reaction what you'd expect? Was that part of the worry?
I've never really thought about that. I guess so, because I did love my mum's approval meant a lot to me when I was growing up. It was probably part of the reason I did so well at school, and I suppose it feeds into that best little boy in the world syndrome that a lot of gay men struggle with. But her approval meant a lot to me, and my mum is she's a very masculine woman. She's very, don't be soft. Very, and I guess she's had to be. But like emotions were not something that happened a lot in our house when we were growing up. So I think, and because of what I saw what I thought being gay was, which was a bit airy fairy feelings. Let's talk about our feelings. Let's like that just had no place, which obviously it isn't, but that had no place in our house. And just I was brought up very much, small northern town. It was very, you grow up, you get married, you have kids, you get a job, you don't cause any issues, you do what everybody else is doing, and if you're lucky, you get to go on holiday once a year, and you should do that until you're dead, and you should be grateful for it. It was very much like the mantra growing up, and I realised I was going to massively upset. I tried so hard not to upset the apple cart, but so I think her view on life and society had a big impact on how I viewed myself and my place in society. But I don't know if I thought, oh, she'll disown me. I never thought about coming out when I was a kid. I never thought. I was I was genuinely in denial. I was like, this will go away. I'll be able to get past this. It wasn't until I was, an actual adult where I was like, oh, you're a big flaming fruit, So, so that was never like a worry in that kind of sense. You know what I mean?
And do you recall anything specifically that your mum said that was particularly hurtful, or was there a particular comment that you were like, wow, I can't even imagine as a father saying that to my child?
Yeah, I told her on the phone because she lives abroad. She lives in Gran Canaria. The irony is not lost on me at all. And so I told her on the phone, and she said, you're joking. I was like, Mum, I'm not joking. I'm literally trying to come out here. And then it was, I can't believe you're doing this to me. You're a disappointment. How could you? I'm ashamed of you. Da, 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 da. That was the phone call. I was like, fucking hell, here we go. We got off to a flyer because that was like the second person who I told. The first one being my ex-wife. So I was like, we're not off to a good start here. But yeah, like I remember those words vividly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's baffling, I suppose, for people that have not had that. And if you ask people that coming out experiences, everyone's so different. Some people will be like, oh, I just came out to. I mean, Matt over there came out to his mum in the car and just said it, and she was like, okay.
Yeah.
So it's we've all had different scars from that experience, and that's really tough.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Maybe I've compartmentalized it. Maybe I've processed it. I don't know. I was just like, I just got other stuff to get. Like, I've got to get on with my life. I've got kids to look after. I've got a rugby. Like, I've got to keep it. Like, I didn't feel like I had time to sit and worry about it. And because she lived abroad, do you know what I mean? If I'd have seen her every day and then it had come completely out of the blue, maybe I would have found it more devastating than I did. But yeah, I mean, it's not ideal. But I've not had the best of luck with parents, which has probably been a big reason why I've tried to do a lot better with my kids, I guess.
Have you got siblings?
I've got a younger brother and a younger sister, yeah.
Okay. And they're on your team?
Yeah, they were both, yeah, absolutely fine.
That's good. And still to this day, are they close to your mum, and they're like, I can't believe mum's not speaking to you?
My sister isn't close to my mum, but my brother is. But my brother's just like typical straight man. It was just like,
stays out of it.
It's nothing to do with me, this.
Yeah.
I mean, we might call that a coward, but it's, rather than upsetting the apple cart and saying anything, it's picky battles, right?
How have you found making gay friends in your later years?
I haven't really. I ain't got many. I've got like Ant and Pete. I've got a few, but I think I've probably since leaving rugby, I've probably found it quite hard to make friends. Partly because I'm not willing to invest time in it and effort. Partly because of like location and what I'm like my schedule and stuff with kids and work and partners and but yeah, I won't say I'm not inundated with gay friends.
So you don't feel like you're part of a gay group?
No, not like we've got friends who are couples, and we might go do stuff together, like go on all day or out for dinner or a night out or whatever. But yeah, I don't have like a big gay group of friends. Certainly not the one where we can all put our speedos on and be on Instagram. Like I've not been, I'm not part of one of those.
And is that something that you feel like you're missing out on?
Maybe sometimes maybe, but I also, I mean, I don't know what the depths of those kind of friendship groups are like. I'm sure the people in them would say that they're really close, but like I know that the friends that I've got, like I've been through, thick and thin with, and like I love them to bits. I don't. Maybe I've not got enough love to go around to have like loads of really deep friendships, because I don't really have like surface level acquaintances and friendships. Really, it's just not something I have. So I'm like, if we're going to be friends, we're going to be like friends. So yeah, maybe I've not invested in that. Because I don't think it's anybody else's fault. I think it's mine.
Yeah, because you do need to go through the first bit,
Yeah,
which is that sort of acquaintance
exactly.
to get to the good friend, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm kind of like, I suppose it's like dating to get into a proper relationship, isn't it? Like, and I don't know if I can be arsed with it.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. But I do have times where I maybe feel a bit lonely, especially after rugby, because like a lot of those friendships go away because you're in the same space at the same time, and but I've not put the effort in.
Yeah, it's hard as you get older, and I think there's this fantasy idea that friendship groups exist in your adult life when you see the ones that are on social media, and it can look very like you're missing out, and I don't have this 7 group and we're in the same WhatsApp chat and we do everything together, and I think that does exist. The depth of the friendships I'm unsure about, but I think it's how do those even form as you get older? Do you know what I mean? How does 7 or 10 or whatever people all know each other in a certain way that they can have the in jokes and the shared experiences? And my experience has always been I've got individual close friends, and sometimes I bring them together, but they all disband at the end of it.
Yeah.
And I guess there's a bit of a sadness to that, because you do kind of wish that everyone kind of knew each other in a way that you felt part of something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's like a uni thing or if it's a work thing, or I think it's obviously a lot of it has to do if you've got the same interests and you're in the same spaces, and I know a lot of people do form these friendships when they're going out and stuff, and that being a big part of people's lives, which is, that's their prerogative. It's not a big part of mine, and I don't know. I suppose like I have clients at GMC who form friendships because we go to we have events and they're kind of doing the same thing, and I know they go out and do stuff in groups as well. So maybe it's just about having similar interests in things in people. But I mean that's been something that I've struggled with since rugby. I was like, what are my interests? I feel like Madonna. I've had to like reinvent myself after finishing rugby. So I think there's an element of that as well.
So what are your interests?
I don't know really.
I hate that question. I'm just saying it.
Yeah, I don't know. I play PlayStation sometimes.
There you go.
I don't know what the answer is. I'd love to say, I'm really into painting, or I'm really into home decor, but I'm
just
not
chilling out.
I'm not particularly into anything.
Yeah, I like watching reality TV and chilling out.
Yeah.
So would you say that you do have capacity and a want to make more friends, or is it just something you're not that bothered about?
I certainly have spaces. There's availability.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know. I also feel like it's not something that I would want to go and force. Like, will you be my friend? Because it feels it's something that should happen organically, but you have to put yourself in a position for it to happen organically. Or certainly that's the perception I have of it. Or maybe that's a limiting thing that I've got. Maybe I should apply for friends.
No, I mean, you're so right. If we were at university, or if we were in a rugby team or whatever, and you're showing up to the same spot every night of the week or every fortnight or whatever, there's ritual, there's shared experience, you form these close bonds, you do things afterwards, whereas now friendships really in your adult life have to act like romantic relationships. You have to go,
take work,
let's go for dinner, come to my house. You have to almost, you do kind of have to make your intentions very clear. It's I really like you, we've connected, I would like to make you my friend, which is quite cringy, isn't it?
It sounds quite embarrassing, doesn't it? Yeah, absolutely. I also think as well that a lot of people have friendships that are kind of like situational friendships, like, we used to go out drinking all the time. That's what like a lot of my rugby friendships were. We were drinking buddies. After a game, Sunday club was what we call it, like we go Sunday club. Whereas I speak to one person who went to Sunday club who I actually have a real friendship with. The others, it was just like, it was just convenient. Or habitual. And then, so I think a lot, again, I don't want to poop it, like, I think it's something that we have to be aware of, especially as people who are developing and changing as we get older, which I would like to think we all are doing. The friendships that we once had might not be in line with, there might be friendships for who we were, not who we are. And I think you become, as you get older, certainly you become more conscious of that. And I don't want to be friends with someone who's a wreckhead, or someone who's got loads of drama going on in their life all the time, and so you become more sensitive to that kind of stuff.
So would you say that you experience loneliness? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm a bit isolated or on my own. Yeah, absolutely. I'm also not ashamed to admit it either.
But is that a prominent feeling? Because I think in London a lot of people feel that all the time, whereas I guess you're in a relationship and you've got the kids, so I guess it just comes in flashes as opposed to a constant state.
I would say in flashes, because there is, there's Keegan as a dad, Keegan as a partner, Keegan as a business owner, Keegan as someone who makes social media content. There's also just Keegan who likes to chat shit and do whatever. And sometimes I feel like I'm maybe not able to be that version of me as much as I'd like to. Sometimes I feel like I'm flipping between caps a lot of, dad mode and this mode and that mode. So I think it's in those kind of times, and I'm also very much the person who, in my friendship groups, I'm like the one who's, let's put something in the day. Like, I'm not one of those people who goes, let's put something in the diary. Sorry, I'm not one of those people who goes, let's go for a coffee. Yeah, let's go for a coffee. Okay, we'll sort it out. I'm like, when are we going for a coffee? Like, I'm quite intense. Which I acknowledge and appreciate.
But that's why spontaneity is good, because I hate putting things in my diary. I'd rather just go on the day, hey, what are you doing later? Do you want to grab a drink? Because I'll be in the mood, and if I'm not, then no. But I don't want to put something in for 2 weeks, because on the day I always think, fuck, I'm so tired, I can't be fucked.
Well, I think that's probably when I notice it the most, is when I go, right, come on then, let's go. Sun's on, let's go beer garden or whatever. And then I'm like, who? So that's probably when if I do experience it, or when I do experience it, that's probably when I experience it the most. Because I feel like that as well. Like, I book something and I go, fuck it. But I always make myself go, and I always because I hate those people who cancel last minute. And I was hoping this was just a joke.
Sometimes I kind of love it though when someone cancels. I'm like, oh fuck.
If they cancel, that's fine. But I would never let me be the one who cancels.
Do you ever find it difficult to make friends with other gay men, because sometimes the line between friendship and what could be deemed a sort of sexual relationship crosses over? I know you're in a relationship, but I have had it with some guys that I thought we had a friendship, and then I would out of nowhere get a proposition, and I would be like, whoa, I thought we were friends, and now you've just tried to kiss me in the club. What? And that is annoying for me, because I don't want to hook up with my friends, although some people would argue that that's how you make friendships, is like hooking up. But have you ever found that quite challenging?
I'm of the same kind of mindset as you there. It's not something that I would generally do. I mean, me and Joel were out in Miami a while ago, and we got talking to these two lads, couple really nice guys, like chit chatting, spent most of the night together, and then one of them went to the loo, one went to get to the bar, and then he said, so like tried necking on with me, and I was like, whoa, no, like that'd be weird.
And you were like, what? I didn't even see
this. That's weird. Yeah, it was out of nowhere. There was not like any flirting or anything was going on. It was like that's odd behaviour.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Or I certainly find it odd.
And did that twist the mood?
Yeah, I was like that's it, and see you after. Like, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
I think maybe, there is an element of that. Why I am a little bit, I suppose it ties back into what you said earlier about the being a rugby player, having some level of notoriety, and I'm not saying that as in I'm the fucking King Ding and everybody should know who I am, but some people do, and there's like an element of, I'm just going to try and neck on with Keegan Hirst, which is not really my vibe for like last 8 years. So yeah, I think I'm like aware of that, and maybe do you know what, that probably makes me a bit more standoffish than I would be normally. Maybe I'm like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Which sounds really cunty to say, but
no, and also if you're in a closed relationship.
Yeah.
If you're in a closed relationship, then I think that the presumption is a lot of people are open. So I think that even nowadays as gay couples, you'll be like, oh, this is my boyfriend.
Yeah.
But then some people will still try and get with you because it's the assumption that everyone's open. So, I mean, that sounds like the case in Miami.
Yeah, exactly that, yeah. And like you say, sometimes you meet couples and you go, oh, this could be like a cute couple friendship. And then it's like, something said and you go, oh, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose you could argue, well, you could be mature about it and say, no, we're not into that. But in my experience, there's not been someone who just goes, okay, fully accept your boundaries, thanks for communicating those, that won't be a problem. Like, it becomes a recurring thing, and I'm just like, I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, thank you, that was such a great chat, and I'll be your friend, so if I'm next up north, we'll go for a coffee.
We'll go for
Just spontaneously text me,
okay.
And we'll go for a coffee. No funny business, you can reassure Joel. But yeah, thank you so much for chatting to me, that was wicked.
No, thanks for having me.